Welcome back, Bimmer Bros. It's been too long, way too long. It's been such a huge break from us from YouTube. Not for any other reason than to work on the shop and keep building. There's a lot of stuff that happened behind the scenes that you guys just didn't see. Of course, all you saw was a dead channel for 3 months, I think even 4 months. But we're back at it. A lot has happened. We did have to move shops once again, but this time it is permanent. We have 3 lifts in this one, and we are much more organized this time around. And we actually have set up the DIY bay that we were talking about in the last video, or in the last couple videos. We actually ended up setting it up. So this first one is the DIY bay. That's for anyone to basically come in and work on their car for an hourly rate. But in this instance, we're actually using it for a client car. This beautiful E93 M3 is coming for the, you guessed it, the rod bearing service, and a couple of things up top. I think my brother can explain this better than I can because I'm not as intelligent.
What's going on, guys? So it's been too long and you probably see a little bit more gray hair on top of this head. That's not because it's been 3 months. That's just because it's been a pain in the butt organizing the shop and managing business. But only two people doing it. Only 2 of us, and we actually acquired a beautiful mill that that's in our shop, and we can't wait to use that for to manufacture parts, maybe resurface some heads. We're working on this E93, and as some of you already are aware, this particular motor does suffer from a couple things that should be addressed as soon as possible. One is the rod bearings, which we're going to tackle as soon as we're done with the oil filter housing. And so this one, I don't know if you can see, but it's it has some extensive leaking. You can see it down there right below the power steering pump. And so and that's one of the components that needs to be set aside. It's short of removing the pump, which you should probably do, but if you have nimble hands like I do, you should be able to work your way in there. Anyway, so on to the shop. My brother's gonna give you a little walkthrough. We have a handful of engines kind of sitting around, a beautiful E30 project that you have probably seen before that will come to a conclusion this summer. We needed some paint, and then we'll also have a sedan over there that will need to the suspension will need to be done, etc. But we're really happy to be back with you guys. Stay tuned because there's going to be plenty of content and maybe some DIY tutorial videos. Yeah, so as my brother hinted at, we do have a lot on our plate, and it's for just 2 people. That didn't leave much room or time to do YouTube. While we do want to keep putting out content for you no matter what it is, we also want to make sure it's quality. So it was better just to take a break and focus on the shop. And then once, of course, back up and running like it is now we can continue with you guys. And we actually hope that some of you guys locally can come hang out, right? We have huge projects here as far as hangout type of projects, because that level up there is going to eventually be a loft, and we're going to get a contractor to do the stairs and all, and the whole thing. It's going to be really cool. You guys just wait. It's going to be a cool hangout spot too. So just an overview of the shop. It's about 1,300 square feet, and I'm going to get to a better angle so you guys can get a sense of the setup. So from the first bay looking in, excuse this pile of parts that goes to that E30. So we got bay 1, bay 2, and 3. So each bay kind of has a dedicated lane, obviously with tools. This DIY bay right here, this DIY bay right here has its own tools. And if you haven't already Googled us, we're at 245 North Emerald Drive, Unit C. Come check us out, even just to say hi.
Just come hang out, honestly. If we're not too busy, we're more than willing to hang out with you. But I'll leave everything down below in the description box, including address, any other parts that we're using in these videos too that people want to get their hands on. Links are going to be down below too. So on to the mini tour. So each bay has its own lane of tools. Left chest of tools is mine. Middle is like a communal little like a communal bench, right? Communal restroom. Communal bench. This is kind of remnants of the last project that we had. This is an M20 head that we're working on for one of our clients that's doing ITBs. We're gonna rebuild this head, make it really reliable, really good parts, 272 cam. It's gonna be really cool. This is my brother's box. Ask me how I know this is my brother's box. This is his. And
that's because you never let me have the nice things.
And this is kind of like the chest where all the special tools, pneumatic tools kind of end up, torque wrenches, engine building tools.
And no, we don't have all snap-on tools.
Yeah, I think we've made this point before. I mean, more power to you if you like snap-on, but I mean, most of our tools are just kind of like Harbor Freight mixed with Craftsman.
And let's be honest, guys. You know, we are your daily average person. We seek out solutions. Sometimes we do get some specialty tools, but just to encourage you, you don't have to get the super fancy tools to get the work done.
You really don't. You really don't. And if you want to spend the money, that is your choice. But you don't need it. You don't need it. We've done just as good with what we've had. And honestly, we don't really need much more. And then, like my brother said, if we need the specialty tool to get, you know, XYZ parts off, sure, we'll go buy it and that's fine, because we know we're going to use it again. So this middle car is what my brother mentioned before. This has been a long-term project. It's one of our interns. Well, he's our client and then turned intern, and we were building this car for him. It was kind of put on the back burner for a month or two because of the move and because of everything that we've had to do. But it's on the up and up because we're getting the wiring sorted, as you can see there, and we might actually have to relocate the fuse box either to the glove box or even to the trunk. Not too sure on what we're deciding yet, but the wiring stage, it's probably going to take, you know, another week or so, and then once that gets done, it's wired up, we can try to fire it up, see if everything's kind of zipped up, and then from there button it all back together. Oh, and it's getting bags too. So these are awesome CA tune bags. Anyway, when we set that up, we'll make sure to do a video about it because a lot of people like to see that kind of stuff. And this car is a very similar build than what Christian is getting. It's gonna be top down basically, or bottom up build. The next stage for this is gonna be just stripping everything from underneath the car, just getting everything out, all this stuff come out, and then rebuilt, new bushings, everything that needs to be new will be new. And this is gonna be one of our special clients too. He's, we call him Mr. Hector. He's a really cool guy. He has some of the best pizza you've tasted in San Diego. I'm gonna put his link to his either Instagram or his website down below. Perfect pizza, really good pizza. We appreciate him. We're not saying that because he's our friend, but because he actually does make really good pizza. So that's the gist of this project. Sorry for the long-winded intro. I'm sure you guys wanted to see more car stuff. I mean, it's kind of more car stuff, right? But it's gonna be mainly this E93 M3 and the rod bearing service. And if we can squeeze it in, a lot of the stuff for the E30 that's on the rack right there. But without further ado, guys, we're happy to be back and we're happy to be creating more videos for you. And let's get on with the show, right? We managed to do it without taking the harmonic balancer off, which is a huge pain in the butt. Granted, this was also a pain in the butt to do it without taking it off, but hey, when there's a will, there's a way, right? So let's move it along, replace it, put everything back together, and then on to those connecting rod bearings. I almost forgot to mention about all these engines. So, real quick, this is the M62 that's being built for the E30. If you guys haven't seen the prior M62 E30 build videos, that's it. Just gotta finish it up. Now that we're moved in here, that might actually happen. This is the M50 going into my brother's E30. And this is a fresh M20 that we've built for that E30 over there. And the rest are either other projects or just stock for the shop. That's actually the M30 going into the E28. Yeah, I kind of just like walked around this and didn't even explain it to you guys, but anyway, let's clean this thing up. So Mr. E93 himself has showed up. Just a quick tip, guys, because the book does call to remove the harmonic mounts and all that stuff. You can remove it. This is how we did it, is with a 1/4 inch little wrench, and we used one of these little bits. I ground down the back a little bit.
So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and reposition the new gasket in, and then I think for all intents and purposes, we're gonna switch from these Allen wrench drive bolts to regular hex tops.
Yeah, or at least on the necessary ones. I'm not sure if we're gonna do all of them because they're all specific lengths.
So if they're not standard size, and we're gonna look at that right now, but yeah, these can be a pain in the butt. I don't see any reason why these should remain in there. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, they're torque to yield. These are not like, you know, dual stage, you know, bolts like heads would, so they don't stretch. So we're gonna play with that idea, see if we can find some, you know, standard size. Unless they're proprietary, then there's no reason why we shouldn't go to, you know, with a hex top. It just makes maintenance a lot easier. What
we're talking about is just clamping force on a gasket. If you guys know of a specific reason why it has to be the Torx head bolts, let us know down in the comment section below. But a fastener is a fastener in this case. If it's easier to use a hex head, then why not, right? Ready?
It's time.
You drop it.
Oh!
That throbbing choked.
Hey guys, so we just took out the pump, and this is one of the aggravating features of some of these, you know, OE or OEM pumps, is the plastic impeller. And so, you know, better replace these sooner than later before the, you know, they become a catastrophic event. All right, guys, so we're gonna go ahead and attempt to modify this fuel rail at the skyrocketing price of $400 plus to replace the entire rail. We're going to try to modify this. Now, we read up on this, and this fuel pressure goes up to
100 psi.
100 psi or 7 bar. Now that's a startup, but you know, who knows how high it goes as the RPMs, you know, increase.
Well, it's all that's the max. That's the operating pressure. So
yeah,
it shouldn't go much higher than that, but I mean, we're gonna try to do this the safe way, right? And
yeah,
if we're gonna replace the line, we're gonna cut these fittings off because they're crimped on, and then we're gonna put some J1532 spec hose and clamp it down with dog ears.
And just to reiterate, this is a classic leak that occurs, you know, between the crimp and the hose. And this is, you know, this is one, of course, to save a little, you know, a little money, which can go towards other preventive maintenance. But you know, there's a perfectly working rail. There's nothing wrong with it, with the exception of this hose. And so this is going to be our task at hand, you know, removing this and replacing it with that high pressure hose that my brother just spoke about.
Yeah, if it doesn't make any sense now, it'll make sense as we go along. That hose, the J1532, is rated for 1,000 psi, so it's plenty. Working pressure is, it's going to be way below that, so
it's going to be a hose like this thick.
Yeah. We might as well just weld a piece of pipe right here.
Oh, no, why not?
No, we should be good. Now, I think it's going to work, and we cleared it obviously with the client. He knows that we are doing this. We advised him that obviously a new one would be better, but he went ahead with this option.
But I think, you know what? There is no innovation without its dangers.
Yeah.
So.
And of course, stuff like this, we take full responsibility if it fails. Obviously, it's not going to be on him. If it does, then we figure out a different solution.
Different route.
Yeah.
This is that scene where you like take a shot of this and then pan over to that electric ratchet right there.
Yeah, like if only we had a faster way to do things. More efficient. Maybe if it was like electric. You should have pried it anyway.
Yeah, why not?
All right, ready?
Yeah.
All right. So.
Oh my gosh. Pickups. All right, so whether you're doing your, bearings for your M50, M52, and 52, keep a pretty close order of them. In this case, we're gonna, organize them by bank. So bank 1 would be 1 and 2, of course, and then, the bottom bearing, and we'll put the top bearing on there. This particular bearing is relatively worn. We don't see any bronze, which is good. So there is some pitting, but other than that, it looks relatively okay. You start worrying when you start seeing bronze, copper, etc. So this is pretty good, and this is the first one to come out. So we're gonna push the piston just a little bit up, and then get that top bearing.
You were saying?
Oh shit, this is bad. Look, that's
yeah, that's bronze.
Okay, so this is bronze and copper. So
this is the top of the same piston.
The same piston 1, and we have actually a pretty bad heat spot that has deteriorated the.
It even cracked. I'm not sure if the camera will catch it. Let me take it to the light.
Yeah.
Here. It is recommended on these cars. You see that completely missing spot of material? Yeah, that'll get you a good non-running car in no time. As it is, guys, it looks like we're in good time to actually do this service for our client. he's very lucky that he chose to do this sooner than later, because this looks like it was going to be a catastrophic event. Luckily, we're replacing it with awesome ACL bearings. These are, I believe, the race ones, but I'll link down below to these parts in case you're doing the same job. These are awesome bearings. They're actually a lot cheaper than OEM, and they're pretty much the go-to for a lot of people to do the service. And we're gonna keep going and put them in order, and we're gonna see if all of them are that bad as the first one.
Hey guys, just out of safety, we number these, but if you look really closely, these have laser engraved numbers on the side. And also, as soon as the caps release, you'll actually see the crack, separating. So just out of safety, not that we need the numbers, but it's just a nice visual for us to like reinstall them. Look how easy this came out. Okay, so this is number 6. Not bad.
It's gonna be the top. The bottoms are always really clean.
Yeah, there you go.
Take it out.
There you go, bottom one also pretty clean. At this point, what we're doing is we're actually figuring out the engine mounts. And one of the things that we came across is the fact that when the engine mounts are removed, they are pegged at the bottom at the subframe. So there's they're pegged at the bottom, but they're not at the top. So what do you do in the position where you're gonna reposition the subframe, and you may not be able to match your engine mounts, because you have to actually mount them top first. And so it's pretty evident right now because we already mocked it. But when you are at this position, when the subframe is actually hanging, and you're mocking your...
I think that's enough to show them, like right there. Yeah, because look.
Oh yeah.
So, do you mind if I butt in? So when you have them hanging from the actual motor mount arm, they spin freely, guys. And as you can see right there, this key, it's not gonna land where it's supposed to if you can't really position it exactly where it needs to go. So at this point, you wanna lay it in the key part to make sure it doesn't rotate, right? And then lift the subframe back up to make sure it's in the exact position that it needs to be. And then from that point on, you tighten the top back on, the top of the motor mount.
So what we're doing is, that's exactly what I was trying to explain. So my brother did it, explained it easier. So you position your mounts, as he stated, on the subframe, and then you bring them back up. Make sure that it that top stud, of course, goes through the mounting point, right? Just like so. And what you're essentially doing is ensuring that those pegs match. So this one also has to match. The pegs match after you tighten these studs on the top.
Yeah, because we're gonna have to drop this back down again, and the bottom of the mounts have to match the key part. You don't want it to sit all oblong because they'll fail.
And the real challenge here, it's not so much that we can't do it, but it's just a limited space. So if you take a look at this angle, if you were to access this mount from the top, from the well, because we removed part of the plastic here to access the subframe, you'll notice that there's a very limited space to access those engine mounts. So,
and of course, we're not saying that this is the only way to do it, this is the one way that we have found to be most effective in this case. But hey, you E90 guys that have worked on these cars from day one, chime in the comments down below. Let us know how you do it, because this is actually the only way that we can logically approach this at this angle, from the lift, doing this job in this case. So chime in down below. Let us know how you do it, because like I said, this is the one way we figured out how to do it.
Yeah, of course, it's gonna be a pain in the butt if you tighten it up and then you put your subframe up, and then you won't be able to spin that mount to make it match the peg.
Yeah,
right?
Because it's already torqued to spec. It shouldn't spin.
Yeah, so it shouldn't spin. And so I think it sounds like a very logical thing to do, but to some of us who are not experienced, or this is our first time servicing our car, you're going to be at a loss, saying, okay, now I have the subframe up. Now the engine mounts don't match.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? I have to loosen them up. But I think if you just sit there and think about it, it makes perfect sense. You want to match them, so we mock the parts. And that's actually one of the things that we always encourage all the time to do: mock your parts, and then proceed, to torque specs.
All right, let's get it going. We're in the last phase of this, pan, and then final reassembly. That's it. Let's do it. Guys, it's a good thing we actually swapped out the motor mounts, because look how loose this chain is. This was under tension holding the engine up when we first put it up, and that's because the motor mounts were actually squished down enough to give it tension. When we put the new ones on, raised the engine up, and in the end we didn't even have to loosen this, it was just a loose chain.
Another thing that we noticed that actually it's not featured on this video, and maybe you noticed it while we were down there, the oil pan had it had like a shiny spot. And so it was already rubbing against the cross member on that subframe, which means that there was contact, making it prone to either, cracking, breaking, what have you. So, it's back to, its original height, and now we're gonna get ready and, zip the top end, put the plenum back on, serpentines, etc. And yeah.
That's really it. It's the tail end, guys. And we're gonna start it up as soon as we can.
You guys, we're priming the engine prior to start. There may be some residual gas in the line, but we're doing this to get some of the oil back into the galleys and get the engine nice and ready for a start.
I can hear the oil.
You can hear the oil?
Yeah, I can hear the oil. Go for it. I'll do maybe like 2 more times.
Hang on a second.
let's take it for a spin. Everything's buttoned up, fluids are topped off. We had an oil light, so we had another quart. That's just because of the initial fill. But everything seems to check out, and I think we should take you along for a first or second drive. So let's do it, come on.
Well, before we actually do that, let's take a look at under the hood to check to see if our mod has worked so far.
The fuel rail mod.
The fuel rail mod. There it is. Looks good. Aside from that leaky oil cap, everything seems to be fine. We took care of this leak prior to you know, assembling it. All it was is a faulty O-ring. Everything checks out. Today we're taking our friend Eddie for the ride. Even though Eddie is not an avid BMW fan, we're trying to convert him. Right, Eddie?
Right.
That's right, he said. So there it is, guys.
Pulling.
That's it right there?
Yeah, that's it.
Holy shit, dude, he needs to fix that shit.
All right, we're pulling back in. Successful test drive number 2. And I gotta say that it's done, guys. It's successful, mission complete. And it was such a fun project because we not only learned a lot when we worked on these chassis, but it's also really cool seeing how it goes from a almost an irreparable job, because it could have just failed, right, into such an awesome end result that is reliable. All right, guys, it was a great project with this E93 M3. We are so happy for our client that he has a more reliable car. Although there is some more work to do on this car, it's great knowing that the rod bearings won't fail, right? So they're replaced with the ACL bearings. You can find a link to them down below. We do offer them on our web store, so if you are doing this at home, just help us out, help the channel out, and grab them from our site. That would really help us out.
And as always, we want to thank every single one of you for following us, supporting us. This is what we do, this is what we love, and I'm sure you guys do too. So thank you.
And sorry for not posting for the last 3 months. We're gonna be more consistent now that the shop is kind of more solidified and we're all kind of hit the ground running now. So expect more uploads, expect more content, and follow us on Instagram if you haven't already. It really helps out. And to see more content like this, hit the subscribe button. And until next time, guys, see you in the next one.